Welcome to English 9, Judging the Relevance and Worth of Ideas, Soundness of Author's Reasoning, and Effectiveness of the Presentation, Part 2, Quarter 4, Week 2. I am Mr. Nel Pransambalad and I'm your teacher for this course. Looking at the image, you have there a detective who's looking for clues. So, what clues he's looking for? He's looking for the evidences that will lead him on saying that the claim or the statement given by the one who is being asked or by the author of a statement or of a sentence is really telling the truth because the evidences are aligned with the claim. So let us find out how is that image related to our discussion for this week. Looking at the image, you have there a person who is talking and another person who's trying his very best to absorb everything that is being said to him. So, how is that image related to our most essential learning competency, which is judge the relevance and worth of ideas, soundness of author's reasoning, and the effectiveness of the presentation? Of course, how can you judge the relevance and worth of ideas as well as soundness of author's reasoning and the effectiveness of presentation of a person who's talking to you or of an author of an article if you will not be making yourselves critical listeners or critical readers wherein you would be absorbing or you would be entertaining the information that is being fed to you and you will be evaluating and later on formulating sound judgment about what you listen to. Okay, so the enabling competency, judge the validity of the text listened to. So how can we judge the validity of the text listened to? Of course, as we what? As we try our very best to look for the connection between the claim and the evidences or supporting details that an author or a speaker is telling us. Okay, so let's find out more about the most essential learning competency and the enabling competency as we go through in our discussion. We have five macro skills, namely speaking, listening, viewing, reading, and writing. Listening is very important in everyday living since listening allows us to give feedback and response. Effective listening requires an ability to evaluate whether we should believe the point being raised or not. It involves assessing the weight of the evidence used to support it. So, for us to judge the validity of information of ideas listened to, we really have to listen that good to a speaker whenever he or she is sharing or stating something. Because through listening, we can really we can really hear the soundness of the author's reasoning, as well as we can check on the relevance or worth of ideas. And of course, the more we will be convinced of the speaker's ideas as he or she is that effective on presenting the ideas to his or her listeners. So again, it is very necessary that we do activate our macro skill, particularly listening, because it is our way of evaluating whether we should believe the point being raised or not by the speaker whom we are listening to. And again, by listening, we can assess the weight of the evidence used by the speaker to support his or her claim. Okay? Let us have this activity. Read the statements and answer the questions that follow. Letter A. It is going to rain because it is cloudy. The wind is picking up and the air smells damp. Letter B. All Filipinos are generous and kind like Senator Manny Pacquiao. Guide questions. Which of the following statements do you agree with? Explain your answer. So we agree on statement letter A because you have there the claim of the speaker, it is going to rain. Also, the speaker provided evidences telling that indeed it will rain. We have there because it is cloudy, the reason for his or her statement that it is going to rain. You have there that because it is cloudy. Also, other evidences, the wind is picking up, the air smells damp. Unlike letter B, wherein the statement is just talking about that Filipinos are generous and kind like Senator Manny Pacquiao. So it's just what? A claim without evidences how generous and kind Filipinos are like Senator Manny Pacquiao. Number two, what made you agree with the statement you have chosen? What made us choose statement letter A is the fact that statement A has the claim and evidences in it. Unlike letter B, wherein it is only a claim without evidences. Okay? Let's have the next activity or the next slide. Evidence is the available body of facts or information indicating whether a belief or proposition is true or valid. So remember, in the activity that we had earlier, we chose statement letter A because the statement has evidences proving that it is going to rain. So talking about evidence, again, the definition of it is the available body of facts or information indicating whether a belief or proposition is true or valid. So the evidences that we are going to deal with in a statement or in a passage will prove whether the claim of a speaker or of an author or a writer is valid or not because these evidences will justify how valid a claim is because definitely the evidences will serve as supporting details to the claim or argument of a writer or of a speaker. Okay? And we have to be that good on looking for evidences in a passage or in a text, just like the detective in the image. Okay. Let's have the next slide. Let us have the steps in analyzing and evaluating the validity of evidence. The first step is argumentation. Identify the point or claim the author is trying to prove. So, just like in a paragraph, you should be able to pick out the topic sentence. What is the topic sentence? Or again, what is the claim of the author or of the speaker? So, you should be able to pick it out from the statement given. Okay, or from a text. Number two, specificity. Identify specific facts, data, statistics, examples that support the point. So the second step is for you to focus on the details. Deal with the details, with the evidences provided by the author or speaker in the statement of him or her. So you should be able to identify specific facts, data, statistics, examples that support the point. So, if a paragraph topic sentence is Calamba City is a beautiful place. Now, it is expected that in the paragraph you have the examples or lines that will be telling that indeed Calamba City is a beautiful place. Okay? Number three, relevance. Explain how the pieces of evidence are related to the claim. So again, explain how the pieces of evidence are related to the claim. So, look for the connection between the evidence and the claim. Okay? So, those are the three steps when it comes to analyzing and evaluating the validity of evidence of a text. Okay? So, let's have the given example. Study this example. We should set a limit to our game time. In my experience, spending so much on computer games prevents me from submitting my modules on time, which resulted to failing grades. What is the point or claim in the given example? We should set a limit in playing computer games, as if that is the topic sentence, as it in a paragraph. Next, evidence. In my experience, spending so much on computer games prevents me from submitting my modules on time, which resulted to failing grades. So notice the evidence provided in the example. It supports the claim. We should set a limit in playing computer games. So the evidence talks about what will happen if a gamer will exceed the time playing a game. So what will be the result of it? Then what type of evidence? It's anecdotal evidence. Why anecdotal? You have there the sharing of story. You have there the sharing of experience of the speaker or of the writer of that example. Relation of the evidence to the point or claim. The evidence reflects the possible outcome of excessive online gaming based on the speaker's experiences. Okay? So, you have there the relevance, the connection between the evidence and the claim or the point. The note that even when the pieces of evidence are entirely accurate, there are factors that we need to consider before using them as basis of our action and thoughts. And of course, it should be like that. Now, it doesn't mean that the author's claim is really valid because of the evidences provided are really accurate. Then it doesn't mean that instantly you will be following the advice or the claim given or stated by an author or a speaker. So you have to consider other factors before making action dealing with the claim of a person. Okay? So, again, we have here the step-by-step guide in analyzing and evaluating validity of evidence. Dealing with the previous slide, we mentioned there the anecdotal evidence. So what is anecdotal evidence? It's one of the four types of evidences. So the first type is statistical evidence. It is known as the strongest type of evidence. It comes in a form of number, percentage, or surveyed type data. Example, 75% of women in Tayabas City, 8 out of 10 pediatricians recommend, 16 members of the legislative agreed upon. So whenever you see numbers, percentage in a statement, then that is what? An statistical evidence. If used as evidence in a text, okay, to support a claim. Second, testimonial evidence. Use of celebrities is the core of this second type of evidence. However, experts and authorities can also be used to collect testimonial evidence. Look at the example. Heart Evangelista, a well-known actress and fashion buff, recommends that Olay lotion is good on our skin. So usually commercials make use of testimonial evidence to prove the claim of a certain product that it is the best among other products or uh, among other brands endorsing that kind of product. Okay, so the testimonial evidence, someone is saying it to you directly that you should use this product or you should follow 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 this thing or do this thing regarding the claim. Okay? Number three, anecdotal evidence. It is often dismissed as untrustworthy and meaningless. When the speaker does storytelling, anecdotal evidence is utilized. So just like the example that we had in the previous slide, you had there the sharing of experience of the author talking about why there should be a limit when it comes to online gaming. So it used or followed anecdotal evidence. Look at the example. After living for decades in Quezon, I can honestly say that the people there are kind and hospitable. So the statement sounds like someone is sharing, someone is telling a story. Okay? Then the last type of evidence is the analogical evidence. It is regarded as the weakest evidence. When information about something is scarce and little is known, analogical evidence is often used in a formal argument to increase credibility of the proof. So there's scarcity or there's scarcity of evidence or there is only little known. So what you are going to do is to make a comparison between this object and another object so that you can increase the so-called credibility of the proof. So look at the example. If we are going to ban firearms, we should also ban cars because they cause many more deaths from firearms do. So that's a good analogical evidence. So you have there a conclusion why firearms should not be banned. And of course, you have there the so-called scarcity of information. That's why you compare firearms with with cars. Now stating that what cars cause many more deaths than firearms do. Then of course formulating the or writing the entire statement now leading to a conclusion that firearms should not be what? Really banned because if it will be banned, then cars should be banned too. Na? So that's an example, a good example of analogical evidence. So again, we have here the four types of evidence: statistical, testimonial, anecdotal, and analogical. Okay, for you to better understand the four types of evidences, I have your additional information. So, statistical evidence is the kind of data people tend to look for first when trying to prove a point. Every time you use numbers to support a main point, you're relying on statistical evidence to carry your argument. So, again, whenever you use the numbers, percentage in your supporting details for your topic sentence or for your claim, then you're making use of statistical evidence. Second, the testimonial evidence is also called direct evidence or prima facie evidence. So you have there the direct statement of someone, an authority, a celebrity, an authority, dealing with the claim or a statement that really what agrees with the claim. Number three, the anecdotal evidence is a factual claim relying only on personal observation collected in a casual or non-systematic manner. Thus, even when accurate, anecdotal evidence is not necessarily representative of a typical experience. Accurate determination of whether an anecdote is typical requires statistical evidence. So, of course, uh, you will be making your anecdotal evidence strong if you will be incorporating statistical evidence in it. Just like in the example I mentioned earlier, if you do not want now if you do not want to go behind bars, if ever you will be accused of a crime, then it's not enough that you will be presenting anecdotal evidence, but you should incorporate the statistical evidence that will really prove the accuracy of where you at by the time that that the crime occurred or happened. So it will make your evidence strong. Okay, so I'm sorry, I did not mention it earlier, but that's a good example dealing with anecdotal evidence, making it what? Making it sound strong by incorporating it with statistical evidence. Okay? Then the last type of evidence, the analogical evidence. Comparison with a known situation, one of the weakest types of evidence in writing. Analogical evidence compares something that is not certain or known with a situation that is known. Then the text draws conclusion based on that comparison. So you should be activating your knowledge about analogy. What are the what are the common relationships? Because you have here a known word and you are making a comparison about it with word or term that is not known. And after making comparisons, then you will be what? You will be formulating a conclusion, just like in the example under analogical evidence. Okay? So you have here the comparing of something that is not certain or known with a situation that is known. Then after it, you draw a conclusion based on that comparison. Okay? So these are just additional information about the four types of evidences. Learning Task 1. Read an excerpt from Angelina Jolie's address to the UN Peacekeeping Ministerial, then answer the questions below. In fact, our support should be the strongest where rights are threatened the most. We seem incapable of upholding minimum standards for humanity in many parts of the world. That this comes at a time when humankind is richer and more technologically advanced than ever before is all more painful. 18 years ago, when I first began working at United Nations Refugee Agency, there were just 20 million displaced people worldwide and the numbers were falling. Today, there are over 65 million displaced people and the numbers are rising. More countries are experiencing some form of violent conflicts today than any time 30 years ago. UN peacekeepers now comprise the second largest group of forces deployed overseas and are often required to serve when there is little or no peace to be kept. Against this backdrop, it is easy to dismiss our institutions as flawed or ineffective. Questions to answer. Number one, what is the point or claim raised in the excerpt? We have our support should be strongest where rights are threatened the most. So that is the claim or point in the excerpt. Number two, what types of evidence are used? We have anecdotal evidence, dealing with the evidence. When I first began working at United Nations Refugee Agency, there were just 20 million displaced people worldwide and the numbers were falling. Today, there are over 65 million displaced people and the numbers are rising. So that can be anecdotal evidence and at the same time statistical evidence as you have there the presentation of percent or of number of people who were displaced by that time and by this time. Okay. Number three, are the pieces of evidence enough to support the point claimed? Why or why not? The answer is yes, because the evidences, the dealing with the number of displaced people pointed out that the support should be activated in each of us because it is badly needed of these displaced people. So there are many places that are said to be experiencing violent conflicts, and of course, the people affected by it are in need of our support. So indeed, the evidences presented in the text are showing the number of people who are in need of our support. Okay? So done with learning task 1. Read the selection carefully and answer the questions that follow. Write the letter of your answer on the space provided before each number. Teenage mothers face critical health risks, including inadequate nutrition during pregnancy due to poor eating habits. Dangers associated with the reproductive organs not ready for birth and maternal death due to higher risk of eclampsia. Alarmingly, while maternal deaths are decreasing in the Philippines, teenage maternal deaths are increasing. 10% of pregnant teenagers died last year, according to the Philippine Statistics Agency. Data from World Health Organization also show a high and increasing incidence of fatal death in Filipino mothers under 20. Number one, what is the excerpt all about? A. Maternal deaths are decreasing. B. The number of teenage pregnancies increases every year. C. Teenage mothers face critical health risk. D. 10% of pregnant teenagers died due to complications. The answer for number one is letter C. Number two, what does the selection claim? A. The number of teenage mothers increases every year. B. Teenage have limited access to sex education. Teenagers have limited access to sex education. That is letter B. C. Pregnant teenagers do not know the complications of their situation. D. Teenage pregnancy results in complications and deaths among teenagers. What is the correct answer for number two? It's letter D. For numbers 3 and 4, which of the following supports the claim teenage maternal deaths are increasing? A. Teenage mothers face critical health risk. B. Maternal deaths are decreasing in the Philippines. C. According to PSA, 10% of pregnant teenagers died last year. D. Data from WHO shows a high and increasing incidence of fatal death in Filipino mothers under 20. The answers are letters C and D. Okay, done with letter B. Learning task 2. Analyze the transcribed speech of Jack Simons entitled Social Media Corrupts Human Interaction. You may also watch the video at the given link. Then accomplish the diagram. I'd now like continue my argument by first discussing the impact that social media is having on us at individual level. Because if we can agree that social media is affecting us as individuals and changing the way that we behave, it follows that social media is affecting the way we interact with each other. Research from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine studied over 1,700 people between the ages of 10 and 32. It was found that on average, participants were spending 61 minutes per day on social media and visiting social media website over 30 minutes per week. This research was conducted 2014 and the number have been growing steadily since that time. Over one quarter of the young people surveyed displayed indicators of high levels of depression, and the people who most frequently check social media were found to be 2.7 times more likely develop depression than the average. Now let us accomplish the diagram. So we have to pinpoint the claim and the evidences present in the text. So for the claim, we have the impact that social media is having on us at individual level. For the first evidence, we have research from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine studied over 1,700 people between the ages of 10 and 32. It was found that on average, participants were spending 61 minutes per day on social media and visiting social media. Evidence 2. Before we proceed on evidence 2, what type of evidence we have for evidence 1? It is statistical evidence. Okay. For evidence 2, over one quarter of the young people surveyed displayed indicators of high levels of depression, and the people who most frequently check social media were found to be 2.7 times more likely develop depression than the average. So the type of evidence also it is statistical evidence. Statistical evidence. Now, for number 2, explain in a short paragraph how the evidences from the speech of Jack Simons help strengthen the claim. So, we have here the evidences from the speech of Simons had truly supported his claim for they both talk about the impact of social media to an individual at a certain age. So the evidences even presented the common effect of social media to every individual regardless of age, but the second evidence presented what could be the effect of it to those who are younger and those who are more frequent on using social media. Okay, so that would be all on completing the given diagram. Learning task 3. Read a speech of the former President Barack Obama carefully, then analyze the evidence using the given table. Hi, everybody. This week, because Democrats and responsible Republicans came together, the government was reopened and threat of default was removed from our economy. There has been a lot of discussion lately of the politics of this shutdown, but the truth is, there were no winners in this. At a time when our economy needs more growth and more jobs, the manufactured crisis of these last few weeks actually harmed jobs and growth. And it is understandable that your frustration with what goes on in Washington has never been higher. The way business is done in Washington has to change. Now that these clouds of crisis and uncertainty have lifted, we need to focus on what the majority of Americans sent us here to do: grow the economy, create good jobs, strengthen the middle class, lay the foundation for broad based prosperity, and get out fiscal house in order for the long haul. It won't be easy, but we can make progress. Specifically, there are three places where I believe that Democrats and Republicans can work together right away. First, we should sit down and pursue a balanced approach to a responsible budget, one that grows our economy faster and shrinks our long term deficits further. There is no choice between growth and fiscal responsibility. We need both. So we're making a serious mistake if a budget doesn't focus on what you're focused on: creating more good jobs that pay better wages. If we're going to free up resources for the things that help us grow, education, infrastructure, research, we should cut what we don't need and close corporate tax loopholes that don't help create jobs. This shouldn't be as difficult as it has been in past years. Remember, our deficits are shrinking, not growing. Second, we should finish the job of fixing our broken immigration system. There's already a broad coalition across America that's behind this effort, from business leaders to faith leaders to law enforcement. It would grow our economy. It would secure our borders. The Senate has already passed a bill with strong bipartisan support. Now the House should too. The majority of Americans thinks this is the right thing to do. It can and should get done by the end of this year. Third, we should pass a farm bill, one that America's farmers and ranchers can depend on, one that protects vulnerable children and adults in times of need, and one that gives rural communities opportunities to grow and the longer term certainty they deserve. We won't suddenly agree on everything now that the cloud of crisis has passed, but we shouldn't hold back on places where we do agree, just because we don't think it's good politics, or just because the extremes in our parties don't like compromise. I look for willing partners from either party to get important work done. There's no good reason why we can't govern responsibly without lurching from manufactured crisis to manufactured crisis, because that isn't governing. It's just hurting the people we were sent here to serve. Those of us who have the privilege to serve this country have an obligation to do our job the best we can. We come from different parties, but we're Americans first, and our obligations to you must compel all of us, Democrats and Republicans, to cooperate and compromise and act in the best interest of this country we love. Thanks, everybody, and have a great weekend. After reading the speech of Barack Obama, let us complete the table given. So we have here column 1, point or claim, column 2, evidences, and column 3, the type of evidence. So I provided here two answers for this activity. So first, we have the claim: Democrats and responsible Republicans came together, the government was reopened, and the threat of default was removed from our economy. So that's the claim of President Barack Obama. For the evidences, there has been a lot of discussion lately of the politics of this shutdown, but the truth is there were no winners in this. At a time when our economy needs more growth and more jobs, the manufactured crisis of these last few weeks actually harmed jobs and growth. And it is understandable that your frustration with what goes on in Washington has never been higher. So the type of evidence is anecdotal evidence. So the second answer that I provided, the claim is the way business is done in Washington has to change. That's the claim of President Barack Obama. For the evidences, we need to focus on what the majority of Americans sent us here to do: grow the economy, create good jobs, strengthen the middle class, lay the foundation for broad based prosperity, and get our fiscal house in order for the long haul. So the type of evidence, it's statistical evidence. So anyway, statistical evidence doesn't focus only in numbers and percentage. It can also be what? Surveyed type data. So we can have the data dealing with what the Americans would like the government to do. Okay, so for the type of evidence, so it is statistical evidence. Okay, so I would like to know your other answers, no, dealing with this activity. So I'll see them in your in our Google Classroom. Okay, so let's have the next slide. For your takeaways dealing with our lesson, always keep in mind the four kinds of evidences whenever you listen to information so that you can give sound feedback and response when being asked. Kind of evidence, statistical evidence, the description, strongest type of evidence, examples, number, percentage, survey data. Number two, testimonial evidence, the description, claims made by witnesses. The example, claims from celebrities, experts, and authorities. Number three, anecdotal evidence, dismissed as untrustworthy and meaningless. Example, storytelling. And the last kind of evidence, analogical evidence, description, the weakest evidence, the examples, conclusion based on comparison. The example is conclusion based on comparisons. Again, we have here the four kinds of evidences that you must make yourselves familiar with. Okay, so let's continue. Assessment, directions, choose the letter that correspond to the type of evidences given. Write your answer in the space provided before each number. So letter A, statistical evidence. B, testimonial evidence. C, anecdotal evidence. D, analogical evidence. Number one, studies show that hand washing practices could cut the rate of respiratory infections by more than 20%. The answer is letter A, statistical evidence. Number two, according to WHO, about 16 million girls between ages 15 to 19 and around 1 million girls under 15 give birth each year. Is it is it letter A again? Statistical evidence? Correct. Number three, studies show that the use of technology increases self-efficacy. Is it statistical evidence, testimonial evidence, anecdotal evidence, or analogical evidence? Again, it is statistical evidence. Number four, the Philippine poverty rate decreased from 23.3% in 2015 to 16.7% in 2018 and is expected to decline further in the following years. The answer for number four is statistical evidence. Number five, I have seen my classmates struggle from discrimination. It breaks my heart to see people mistreat them because they look different. We must stop discrimination and start looking at each other equally. The answer is anecdotal evidence. Okay, number six. This weight loss product is very effective. I have been only using 4 weeks and I can already see the results. Number six is testimonial evidence. Number seven. I have seen people not following health protocols who regretted in the end. Number seven is anecdotal evidence. Number eight, this toothpaste brand will make your teeth whiter and your breath fresher. It's testimonial evidence. Number nine, I know a person who was penalized by disobeying traffic rules and regulations. It is anecdotal evidence. Number 10, 49 million individuals will be added to the country's population by 2010 to 2045, representing an average annual growth rate of 1.21%. Number 10 is, again, statistical evidence. Okay, done with assessment. Reflection, communicate your personal assessment as indicated in the learner's assessment card. For learning task 1, 2, 3, and learning task dealing with assessment, what we are going to draw would be all stars because I do believe that after our discussion, as she listened intently and analyzed the activities and gained something from them and learned the lesson coming from the activities, then I do believe that you know very well our lesson dealing with the types of evidences as way of judging the relevance and worth of ideas as well as the soundness of author's reasoning and effectiveness of presentation. So we are going to draw stars for learning task 1, 2, and 3 as well as in the assessment part of our discussion for this week. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day and God bless us all.